আচ্ছা, আজকে ওয়েবিনার আমরা শুরু করি। প্রফেসর সালে তানভীর ওনার আসলে আজকে চেয়ারম্যানশিপ ছিল, তো উনি হয়তো একটু পরে জয়েন করবেন। ডক্টর মাসুদ করিম, উনি কানাডায় আছেন অনেক দিন ধরেই। উনি বেনের সাথে জড়িত গত প্রায় 25 বছর ধরে। তো আমি ওনাকেই বলবো আসলে to ask actually present himself and give a little bit of introduction about himself, and also then proceed on to talk about today's topic, which is basically drinking water and sanitation in Bangladesh. Please, Dr. Masood Karim, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Deependa. First of all, hello everyone, and my name is Masood Karim, and I'm joining you from Toronto, Canada, and I have the honor of chairing today's session as a panel chair. It is now my privilege to invite. Before invitation, I'd like to explain a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, thanking all participants for joining today's webinar, and we encourage you to stay engaged with BAN's activities, because BAN has a support system in Bangladesh. You might have known BAPA, Bangladesh Paribesh Andolan. They're very active in Bangladesh, so those who are in Bangladesh, you can also try to engage with them. Since our time is limited, please post your questions in the chat box, and then Arup will compile all the questions. So the presenter will present about 25 minutes, and then we'll have 5 minutes immediately after that for question and answer session. So if we cannot resolve some of the issue, we'll have a discussion session at the end of all 4 presentations. So, but during this, when the speakers are speaking, please go ahead and type your questions. Make sure that you are writing the speaker's name and then colon and then your question. Go straight to the question so that it's easier for the presenter to respond to that. And so we'll stop our question and answer session after 5 minutes and then move to the next presentation so that we will be within the time. So our first presenter is Dr. Parvez Kabir. He recently completed his PhD from University of Ottawa, Canada. His presentation focuses on growing problem of antimicrobial resistance in Bangladesh and around the world, where the overuse of antibiotics and weak wastewater management are allowing drug-resistant bacteria to spread through drinking water. He'll also share possible solutions to address this urgent challenge. So, Dr. Kabir, please go ahead. Let me stop sharing.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity. I will quickly share my presentation. Hello everyone, welcome to my presentation. Welcome to my presentation. Today I'm going to present the invisible threat in antimicrobial resistance in drinking water from Bangladesh perspective. So I'm Dr. MD Parvez Kabir. I completed my bachelor and master's from environmental science discipline, Khulna University, Bangladesh in 2017. Immediately, I joined in Podda Multipurpose Bridge Project as an environmental consultant. And in September 2020, I got admitted into PhD in environmental engineering program at the University of Ottawa, Canada. And early this year, I have successfully completed my PhD. Now I am focusing on my postdoctoral research on antimicrobial resistance in drinking water. So I would like to give a brief history of antibiotics. So early in 90s, bacterial infection like pneumonia, tuberculosis, syphilis, and wound infection causes injuries or surgeries are often fatal. Childbirth infection such as child death as well as mortality rates of mother as are high as 10 to 20% in some hospital. pneumonia and tuberculosis together accounted for about 25 to 30% of all death in North America and Europe. And this scenario is even worse in low and lower middle income countries where injuries. During the First World War, the most of the soldiers died due to the wounds succumbed to secondary bacterial infection rather than the injuries themselves, like killing in the field, they died mostly in the hospital. However, uh, in 1928, scientist Alexander Fleming first discovered penicillin as the antibiotics, which was considered as the first treatable antibiotics at that time. And the discovery of this medicine changed by enabling treatment of previously fatal bacterial infection. However, with the discovery of new antibiotics, these antibiotics become essential for surgery, organ transplantation, cancer therapy, management of infectious disease, etc. However, with time, due to the widespread of antibiotic use created antimicrobial resistance of those microbes. But what is antimicrobial resistance? Antimicrobial resistance is something like when a microorganism change or mute over time and to get a point where they no longer respond to medicine previously used to treat them. Like in Bangladesh, not only Bangladesh, in all over the world, antibiotics is mostly used to treat bacteria, virus, fungal, and parasites uh, treatment. But however, while it's continuously treated, this microbe became resistant to antimicrobials. That means it's not working against the current use of those antimicrobials. Therefore, what happened when this become resistance? It's hard to treat infection. And when it's hard to treat infection, the mortality rate increase. In a current projection, it was estimated that around 10 million people will die but due to the antimicrobial resistance by 2050 if the current antimicrobial use continue. Beside the mortality rate, this creates a higher treatment cost and global economy could lose trillions of dollars by 2050. Also, the antibiotics moves between human, animal, and environment, and it eventually enters to the environmental reservoir such as water, air, soil, and wildlife. Actually, what is currently happening when these antibiotics in the system, it's already in the human ecosystem. So whether it's water, soil, or air, it's inhaled or consumed by human. So its antimicrobial resistance is continuously inhaled in our system. So now I would like to focus an overview of antibiotic use in Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, antibiotics mostly used in three sectors: uh, is human healthcare, veterinary, and agriculture. So in human healthcare, 73.5% of hospitalized patients receive antibiotics. Antibiotics consumption surged from 8.8 DID in 2018 to 55.5 DID in 2021, which is slightly reduced in 2022. DID is a defined daily dose per 1,000 inhabitants per day. In veterinary and animal agriculture, 37.5% of veterinary prescription contain antibiotics, which includes 58.5 for cattle, 24.7% for goats and sheep, avian, mostly uh, poultry, 11.6, and pet 5.2%. Pharmacies, widespread over-the-counter antibiotics, and we don't have quantitative data. And this is the most concerning threat for Bangladesh because most of the people in Bangladesh live in rural area or even the slum dwellers. They directly go to the pharmacies, ask for medicine, and majority of the pharmacists have no knowledge about the widespread use of antibiotics, and they immediately provide them the antibiotics to treat any diseases. So this is the most concerning factor for Bangladesh in terms of health perspective. Now, nowadays, we see that there is an economic boost up in Bangladesh, and particularly we see the development of small and large scale entrepreneur, kind of poultry, then Beijing duck farming, then animal farming, fish farming, and agriculture. Although we are seeing the current economic development, but the problem is that most of the users are not concerned about the antibiotic uses. They use antibiotic as a source of food for for chicken and everything, or fish, and they also use this for the treatment of any diseases. Therefore, global study found that Bangladesh became a antimicrobial resistance hotspot. So, how does antibiotic use affect drinking water in Bangladesh? So, wherever the antibiotic use, whether it's production in livestock farm, aquaculture practice, hospital, households, due to the absence of wastewater system, it's reached to the surface water. And if there is a wastewater treatment plant like a bigger city, for example, Dhaka and Chittagong, they don't have any treatment capacity to treat the antimicrobial resistance substance. Therefore, all the treated wastewater contain the antimicrobial resistance, and it's reached to the nearby rivers and lakes. Once the antibiotics with water in the surface water, it's become percolated and infiltrated through the soil and reach to the groundwater. When it's groundwater, in Bangladesh, around 80% of people depend on groundwater for drinking water, which includes tube wells, deep bore wells. Surface water is 20%, and this is supplied through the major cities like Dhaka, Chittagong, Rajshahi, Sylhet. So this used as a treatment using drinking water and supplied to the system. But unfortunately, drinking water treatment cannot remove the antimicrobial resistance pathogen. So how can we detect the antimicrobial agents in drinking water? There are mostly three methods. One is culture-based method and another two is molecular-based method. In culture-based method, bacterial colony are usually growth in medium, and from onward, the strain can be separated using standard procedure. For molecular detection technique, for example, qPCR, DNA usually extracted from the drinking water using commercially available kit, and then using target specific quantification, polymerase chain reaction will enable the detection and quantification of antimicrobial resistance bacteria and genes in the drinking water sample. This process is simple, quick, and cheap. However, we have another method, that is genome sequencing, mostly short-term genome sequencing and 16SR genome sequencing. So this method will enable the wider variety of antibiotics and antimicrobial resistance presence in the samples. And through bioinformatics analysis, we can develop the resistome profile. That means all the antibiotics, either it's bacteria or gene, whether it's single drug resistance, double drug resistance, or multi drug resistance. This information could be provided from the sequencing. But the problem of the sequencing, it's expensive, sophisticated, and required qualified knowledge to operate this. Now let's see an example about the antimicrobial resistance in surface water and drinking water in Bangladesh. In recent study by Asaduzzaman et al. 2020, it's published in Elsevier, and we see they monitored the antimicrobial resistance bacteria in rural household, poultry farm, urban market across different sources: drinking water, wastewater, pond water, and river water. And from this slide, you can see that Most of the sources are polluted, particularly wastewater, although the quantification shows that drinking water in lower concentration, but the fact is that it is the most exposure route in the human. So whether it's a small quantity, due to the continuous consumption, it develop within our human system, and the antibiotics will not work, or even it's not working in its current state. Another example published by Shorep et al. 2025, they evaluated 10 antimicrobial agents in numerous sources such as industrial effluent, canal water, municipal wastewater, pond water, hospital wastewater, lake water, river water, and irrigation water. And they found that all of those multi-drug resistance bacteria and genes are present all of the sample source. So what are the impact among the vulnerable population? For example, children under 5 increase risk of several diarrheal diseases such as pneumonia and bloodstream infection. Pregnant women, they have a greater susceptibility to obstetrical infection and urinary tract infection. Elderly population like our parents, grandparents, they have a higher incidence of chronic illness and weak immunity, sorry. Patients with chronic disease such as diabetes, kidney disease, cancer, what happen when they are treated with the risk of antimicrobial resistance, this increase the elevated risk of prolonged hospital stay and treatment failure due to the presence of antimicrobial resistance within the human system. The control strategy, what would be the control strategy? So leading organization like World Health Organization, US CDC, World Food Organization, World Animal Organization, United Nations Environmental Protection Agency, Public Health Agency of Canada, as well as different international and national organizations agreed that the One Health approach, which integrate environment, human, and animal health, will be the most suitable solution to combat against the fight of antimicrobial resistance. But how One Health approach work? It's work through the coordination, communication, and collaboration within the system. That means there should be a restriction about the use of antibiotics in human and animal health, and it should be another suspectable limit how much antibiotics can be reached to the environmental system. And through the integration with all of the parts, all of the sectors, the One Health approach will achieve and ensure our better life for our future generation. So we have some limitation, particularly in Bangladesh, to implement One Health strategy in a drinking water perspective. First of all, water safety infrastructure. In Bangladesh, we don't have enough wastewater treatment facilities. It's maybe there are two in Dhaka city and one in Chittagong city, but they don't have capacity to treat the antimicrobial resistance. Poor enforcement of waste disposal system. The unfortunate thing is that in Bangladesh, the landfill disposal is the almost only practice in waste disposal. For example, hospital wastewater or hospital waste, household waste, and in some cases industrial waste directly deposited, which is considered as the hotspot of antimicrobial resistance in the surrounding soil and water through during the rainfall as well as is spread through bioaerosol. Poor rural water quality monitoring in Bangladesh almost it's absent in drinking water perspective, or if there are few, it cannot monitor the antimicrobial resistance. Inadequate lab capacity due to the economic constraint. Bangladesh have only two labs, as far as I know, that ICDDRB and Science Laboratory is can monitor the presence of antimicrobial resistance bacteria and gene in drinking water. So surveillance and policy gap, limited environmental AMR monitoring throughout like the literature searching, there are few publications related to environmental AMR monitoring, Wastewater testing focus on pathogens such as, for example, in Bangladesh drinking water standard quality incorporated fecal coliform, total coliform, and E. coli. There are no testing indicator for antimicrobial resistance bacteria or genes. Weak coordination between sectors. Unfortunately, we have this weak coordination between sectors, lack of public awareness. Most of the people, particularly pharmacists and the local vendors who sells like animal husbandry and crop production agents, they're not aware about the uh, widespread use of antibiotic uses. So what some recommendation could be developed to strengthen the environmental monitoring include AMR monitoring in water quality standard, for example, particularly E. coli specific target or Streptococcus specific target could be incorporated in order our drinking quality standard to regularly monitor the presence of antimicrobial resistance bacteria in the drinking water system of Bangladesh. Use metagenomics for hotspot mapping. Metagenomics will provide what are the bacteria and genes present in particular environment, for example, the surface water, what are the metagenomics, what are the ARGs and AMR substances there, maybe in river water and even drinking water, that will help to integrate among the collaborators and the different sectors. Build capacity for environmental monitoring. That can be done particularly in the university research, for example, those who research in molecular biology, microbiology. Some curriculum could be developed in order to ensure for the testing of AMR in different source of samples, not only drinking water, maybe wastewater, even in the human sample. Antimicrobial stewardship, regulate antibiotic sales. That should be regulated, like how much antibiotics can be prescribed, and even it could be strictly regulated in local pharmacies and local vendors. That one of the steps that government should take urgent action to uh, control this antibiotic uses, promote rational use in health and agriculture. That could be done from both collaboration with government and non-government organization. Cross-sectoral collaboration, government, academia, non-government organization, and private sector could work collaboratively in order to ensure the antibiotic uses in minimum level, as well as develop the policy that will ensure the public awareness as well as controlling the use of antibiotics. So at the end, the conclusion is like AMR in drinking water is silent but going threat. Bangladesh needs urgent multi-sectoral action. Early intervention will save lives. That means if we take steps now, we can control the dissemination of antimicrobial resistant substance in order to consume through drinking water, and that will help lives and ensure a good future of our next generation. Thank you, everyone, and any question is mostly welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Kabir. We have few questions. The first question is coming from Professor Saleh Tanvir from Ohio State University. Okay, he has multiple questions. The first one is what can be done to alleviate this serious threat to public health? For instance, are there filters on the market that may be helpful? And how are other countries with similar issues handling this one? So let's answer that. And
So,
here's another question. I'll raise that later.
okay, so the factor is that first, in order to control, we have to ensure the minimal use of antibiotics. I know it's difficult. So in other countries like USA and Canada, what are they doing? They are developed fuzz and they use it for the treatment of human instead of antibiotics. And this is widely, it's though it's under consideration, but its success rate is really high. So that could be in one of the option. And for drinking water perspective, if they use chlorination and ultraviolet radiation, then antimicrobial resistance can be removed. But for my knowledge, it's still absence in Bangladesh perspective because there is no use or very little use of ultraviolet radiation for treatment of drinking water. And another option could be the boiling for the rural population that can be done in order to remove antimicrobial resistance from the source and the drinking water.
Okay.
Thank you.
His second, Tabiba, you want to come in? And
Yeah, no, he already mentioned chlorination. I was suggesting whether that will be helpful, but
okay,
yeah, that's okay.
okay,
Thank you.
okay, good. The second question is actually from me. Is the conventional water treatment process able to treat antimicrobial resistance?
No, it's unfortunately not because conventional drinking water system removes the particles and some bacteria, but antimicrobial resistance is adsorbed even the filtration system. So it cannot be removed through the current drinking water system. And lots of research have been currently going on in USA, Europe, Australia, and Canada in order to how can they remove the antimicrobial resistance from the drinking water system using updated of the water treatment system.
Okay. The next question is from Lieutenant Colonel Dr. Shamima. She's asking how to reduce the footprint of AMR.
Okay, so it's just the controlling through the public awareness. We have to ensure the limited use of antimicrobial resistance. For example, now everyone, as in one of my slide, I showed that we are seeing the economic development, the development of small and larger scale entrepreneur, but they are not aware about the use of the antibiotics. They're widely used, as far as from my knowledge, they're widely used those antibiotics for their production and growth. So public awareness and the restriction should be should be enforced in order to control the footprint of antimicrobial resistance.
Um, I think there is a comment from Dr. Azam. If you could share your contact information in the chat box for the participants so that if someone is interested to contact you, they can do that. If there is
Yeah,
no
I'm
other
sharing
question,
my email
okay,
through the email thread, and yeah, anytime anything that I can support, I would happy to help. Thank you so much.
okay, okay. Thank you, Dr. Kabir, and I think we can proceed with the second. I think we are still on time. With Professor Tanbir Ahmed. He's our second presenter. Uh, Professor Tanvir is a professor in Buet in Department of Civil Engineering. He's a wash specialist and researcher with expertise in waste management, sanitation, public health, and environmental risk assessment. He holds a PhD in environmental engineering from MIT, and his undergraduate and master's was from Buet. His presentation will focus on achieving safely managed sanitation in Bangladesh and overview of urban sanitation initiatives. Professor Tanvir Ahmed, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I hope I am audible. Okay. So, thanks again for, first of all, inviting me here. And I had the pleasure of listening to this wonderful presentation, which is kind of intricately linked to this presentation as well when when we are considering wastewater treatment. So the way, again, my name is Tanvir Ahmed. I work in the Bangladesh University of Engineering Technology. And very recently, I've been involved with policies, regulations on water supply sanitation. And therefore, I'm here to talk a little bit about that. The way I structured this presentation is that we'll look at urbanization and what are the global sanitation challenges, how we look at sanitation, the approach, the mindset, and the national progress of what we call safely managed sanitation. And also there's a term called inclusive sanitation, which I'll get into later. and why the situation in Bangladesh is so dire, especially in management of sanitation systems. What is the situation in large cities and small cities, and why is the situation like that? And in the end, we'll talk about. So this is a presentation which considers the national level information and the national policies. So I'd like to keep your viewpoint a little bit broad on when I discuss. So this is, I'd like to say, the evolution of cities. So big cities are growing all over the world. So we had, in 2017, we had over 4 billion people, almost half of the world's population living in urban areas. The projection in 2030 is that there will be a huge population boom, almost 5.1 billion, 60% of the world's population will be living in cities and towns of all shapes and sizes. So these are like kind of hotspots of population where the big cities are. As you can see, there's quite a lot in the global south. And one impact of urbanization is that it dramatically outpaces the gains in access to many things, including sanitation. And as we know, at the end of the Millennium Development Goal era, almost 2.4 billion people lacked access to improved sanitation. And this is a picture, I would say, a view from the top. If you look at Mumbai, you'll see structured urban development on the right, but on the left, you'll have these slum areas where you see very densely populated arrangements. But apart from the arrangement, what is clear is that on the right side, you may have some sort of services like water supply, sanitation, wastewater treatment provided by the city authorities. But on the left side, the informal population, they do not have the privilege of these services. And that creates some sort of inequity. And this is unfortunately a reality in this part of the world, not in Mumbai, but also in Dhaka. If you look at other major cities in the global south, the city development is not uniform, not planned, and not formal in many aspects. And that gives us what I'm trying to convey is that the business as usual approach to sanitation is not working. We say that we do not have wastewater treatment, but it's partly because we relied too heavily on conventional wastewater treatment. Conventional wastewater treatment, what we teach in environmental engineering books, and that's how the literature is. If you look at any undergrad curriculum, you'll find how to design sedimentation tanks, secondary treatment, tertiary treatment, activated sludge, etc., etc. And that's what we teach our students. But how many of these systems do we actually have in one of these large cities growing? Actually, as you know, in Dhaka city, we hardly have only one. Wherein in Western countries, almost all cities are served by some form of wastewater treatment plants. And one of the reasons is that this conventional system relied heavily on infrastructure investment. That means you need money. And most of the cases in the LMICs, low and middle income countries, you will not have enough of it. So priority is usually given to water supply, and there is not enough for development of sanitation systems. And so this is overlooked, and an eventual outcome of that is that your wastewater that you're generating every day from this huge population is really untreated, goes untreated. But not only that, even if you're able to provide some sort of system, it is frequently underutilized and marginalized for the poor. So the rich and poor do not have access to the system, although they might be living in the same area. So the urban population growth, as I just mentioned, outpaces the gains in access to sanitation. Significant portion of the urban population live in slums. That's a reality. And conventional sewers do not serve the newer or informal settlements. So even if you are still going on making investments, you are making investments only for the affluent and the rich or the formal household members, but you're actually ignoring or not being able to serve the informal settlements. And this is that's quite evident if you look at in the y-axis, you'll see urban access to improved sanitation, and the x-axis, you'll see the wealth quantiles from the poorest to the wealthy. And this diagram, this line should have been a horizontal line if everybody had equal access to sanitation, but that is not the case, especially in India, Nepal, as you see in Bangladesh and some other cities. While Paraguay, Vietnam, they might be almost coming almost horizontal, but not necessarily so. But this is what you see, that the wealthy have more access to improved sanitation, while the poorest do not have. But you've set the target of SDG 6.2 as by 2030, you have to achieve access to adequate, equitable sanitation, hygiene, and open defecation to everybody. Yes, that means universal. So you've set the target universal, so that means rich and poor alike. They have the same targets. And you need to have, and the indicator is the proportion of population having safely managed sanitation services. That has to be like universal. And we've set a very ambitious target, despite the fact that we do not have equity among the sanitation services. Now, the sanitation service chain is described in this way. We have a user interface. We have an emptying, conveyance, and then followed by treatment and end-use disposal, where we can have some circularity of the end-use products. And this is shown in a diagrammatic way in this manner. For on-site sanitation systems. For sewerage sanitation systems, it's, the containment starts with the latrines, but then emptying, conveyance is part of the sewerage network. Then you have sewage treatment and end-use disposal. But for on-site sanitation systems, this whole thing is a little bit more fragmented. So after the toilets, you do not have a sewer system. You may have manual emptying, transfer, or through a vacuum truck, and probably it goes to a fecal sludge, which is, as you know, it's not a sewage treatment system. It's a very small scale establishment which treats sewage, sludge, actually fecal sludge. Then it goes to end use and disposal if it's available, or it can be safely covered pit or some other decentralized small scale. So these small scale systems also are a part of the sanitation service chain. And as I mentioned, the sewerage service is not available everywhere. It's only a part of the population that is served by it. The on-site sanitation is what we probably seek to have for those establishments. But the thing is, our mindset was not at the correct place when we were at the MDG era. The MDG said that we have to, if you look at the MDG targets for sanitation, it basically says that you'll have to have universal access to toilets. And but it didn't consider the entire sanitation service chain. But now in the Sustainable Development Goal era, which means that you have to ensure all of these services together. So we have to agree that we had a very narrow viewpoint during the MDG era. It only considered improved water supply, improved sanitation, but not the service itself, the whole value chain. So from post 2015, our viewpoint on sanitation has actually changed, and this has created a lot of challenges. And it is agreed that you cannot provide centralized systems to all over the city. In the city, you maybe have a densely populated area, and somewhere in the middle or a CBD area where you have centralized systems. But there will be other areas which cannot be served by centralized systems. You have to go for decentralized systems, or very remote areas where you have to have fecal sludge management systems, which is in the sanitation value chain in the last slide I showed you earlier. So your total city sanitation system has to be a combination of all of these. And this is what we are talking about for this new approach to sanitation. But there is another aspect as well. People used to think that sanitation is only about infrastructure. Infrastructure, that means if you construct toilets, if you construct treatment plants, or if you have these vacuum trucks, or you provide this whole thing as a part of the infrastructure, your sanitation is managed. But actually it is not. Sanitation is also a combination of well-managed services. And that services can be individual services like material supply, toilet, you need people for toilet construction, you need companies for dislodging and these sort of things. But there are also shared services for sewage construction, operation maintenance, FSM, FSTP operation and maintenance that has shared services that cannot be provided by a single private operator. It has to be done by the community or at the public level. And all of these services has to be well managed and has to be intertwined with each other in a manner so that everything runs smoothly. And that is something that we have to take care of. And that is the thing that sanitation depends on services. This concept was now almost newly ingrained now in the post-2015 SDG era. So the point is this: simply providing infrastructure will not be enough. Sanitation will need continuous well-functioning services. So we need a wide range of service providers, but not only that, in order for this to work, now think about a city or a community or even a large city like Dhaka. If you have all of these services, they have to be managed. The policy has to be at the correct place. There has to be some coordinating agencies, local government institutions that manage these services. And it is not an easy task. You need policy support. You need to engage with a large number of stakeholders. Everything has to be well synchronized and coordinated. So this is the difference between the traditional approach and this what we call inclusive approach of sanitation. Traditional approach where only we thought about the infrastructure, the centralized or whatever you do. You had a master plan. On-site sanitation is typically not considered. You depend on the government for financing and wealthy business districts, paradised, whatever. But for inclusive sanitation, you cannot provide sanitation only for the affluent people. The slum areas also need to be served, because if their sanitation is not in the correct place, then the environment is going to be polluted nevertheless. And you have to consider the entire sanitation service chain, not only the toilets, but you have to go all through the end, ensure resource recovery, your sanitation financing. When you talk about financing and planning, that has to be pro-poor, there has to be innovations, and overall the whole thing has to be managed in an ecosystem where you have strong political will and accountability, and overall the leadership of the institutions to really take on the sanitation challenge. So it's not an easy task, and this is actually what we are facing in many of the cities. So the concept of citywide inclusive sanitation has emerged actually in post-2015, where they talk about these things like you need to have capable institutions, safe and reliable, equity and inclusion has to be ensured, as well as your sanitation system that you have, that has to be run in a sustainable manner. And I'm not going into much detail of it, but the point is everyone in the city needs to have access to the benefits of sustainable sanitation services. Otherwise, we will not be able to or even get close to the 2030 target of SDG 6.2. Now, the remaining part of the presentation, I'll focus on, that is kind of like a general theory, the evolution of the concept of citywide inclusive sanitation. But what is the situation actually in Bangladesh? If you look at the Joint Monitoring Program estimates, it says that the safely managed sanitation services, we only have around 32%. But the target itself is 100% by 2030. And the deep green color is the target that we need to have. And we may have a large part of improved sanitation infrastructure, but that only 50% of it is practically safely managed. At the current rate of annual progress nationally, we shall reach probably the SDG target by 2080, not 2030. And a lot of money is required if we really want to make this happen. Money, but not also progress has to be 8 times the effort that we are actually putting it right now. The curve has to be steeper if we are to reach that target by 2030. And this requires more money, more effort, and of course, change of the mindset from traditional to inclusive. This is kind of like cartoonish type diagram of Dhaka city's sanitation system. It's a very rough sketch. It was recently published, but it gives kind of like a ballpark idea what is happening where. In Dhaka city, we actually do not have, of course, we have a sewer network only served by the Pagla sewage treatment plant, and more recently with the Dashar Gandhi sewage treatment plant. But the city which is serving 20 crore people, 2 crore people, this is actually almost inadequate. And the sewer network, although it is served, but the many places the sewer network is actually not really working. That means not being able to transport the sewerage to the treatment plant for treatment. And even if you bring it to the treatment plant, the Pagla STP is a lagoon-based system which runs on 70-year-old technology, and we haven't been able to manage the money to renovate it to a modern treatment plant, which is happening now. I'll talk more about it later. But there are areas where, so practically, it's not in Dhaka city, the entire population is not being managed by safely managed sanitation. People have different types of sanitation systems, and the black dots that you see here, these are the locations of the low-income communities of the slum areas. They don't have sanitation systems per se. Most of the people are discharging the sewage into the drainage, and as you can see, a lot of sewage sludge is being dispersed into the lowlands on the open lands, and the whole system is actually practically a mess. Some statistics here we have. I'll just very briefly go over that. 50% of the households definitely have improved toilets connected to septic tanks, but they don't have 21% households do not have proper containment. 71% households have, that directly discharge, for example, in slums to open drains without any form of treatment at all. And this actually goes to the Buriganga or Shitalakha rivers, and a huge part of the pollution of the rivers is contributed by this. Existing sanitation systems, of course, the population is increasing. It's not being able to cope up with the increasing population. And since you do not have a sewage network, which takes the sewage to a treatment plant, you are compelled to connect your latrine to a drain system, that is a stormwater system, and that doesn't go to a treatment plant. That goes to either the Buriganga, Shitalakha river or lowland areas. And even the sewerage network, Pagla STP that we have, it is not working properly because the pumping stations are damaged. In many places, the sewer is damaged, sewer system, the lines are damaged, and 70% of the system is actually not functional, even though it exists. And not all the wastewater reaches to the Pagla treatment plant in its catchment. It has a peak capacity of 120,000 meter cube per day. But as you can see, it only receives this, only a fraction of it. And eventually you have the whole system, it looks like this. In words, you see, this is the summary of the entire sanitation system in Dhaka city. As you can see, there's some limited collection system, transportation system, but the treatment block is almost vacant. I mean, the treatment is not really happening in a sense. And this is we call it a shit flow diagram. It shows that only 2%, that is the green color part, is safely managed, and the rest is all red. And you can see why it is red through this type of diagrams, because it's different form of where sewage is generated, but not exactly being treated. Some conveyed, treated, some conveyed, not treated, some not treated at all. So this is if we delineate our sewerage system or treatment system in through the sanitation value chain. Now, are we doing anything here? Now, Dhaka Wasa is the mandated agency to do sewerage treatments, to undertake sewerage treatment projects, but they have been more involved in managing water supply to the residents, and that the money is all spent over there. It didn't get or didn't actually, get enough money for at least not before 2016 to improve the sanitation system of Dhaka city. The World Bank came out with a project in 2016, but it was a total failure, I would say, and they were not able to do the upgradation necessary, and the desired outcome was not achieved. So they end up doing a sewerage master plan. But very recently, we call it the Dhaka Sanitation Improvement Project. They are now upgrading the Pagla sewage treatment plant to a 2000 MLD activated sludge-based system, and they are actually renovating the trunk mains of different parts of the city, mainly in the lower catchment area. But that's only the lower catchment of Dhaka city. The upper catchment are still not served. The Dashargandhi sewage treatment plant is operational, but there are some issues with it. If we have time, we can discuss later. The STPs that are supposed to be constructed at Raya Bazar, Uttara and Mirpur have not been constructed at all. Now, if we do not have a sanitation or a sewerage system, the other option was that do we at least have some sort of fecal sludge or on-site management systems? Actually, the answer is actually no. We have some form of collection transportation systems, which is served by the sweep service, they call it, in the low-income communities. They collect at least 30% septage from this, and they are supposed to transport it to a sewage lifting station, but that's not actually happening that much. So, but in this new project, they are now determined to support this on-site sanitation system and develop at least through the purchase of trucks and some upgradation of decentralized wastewater treatment systems. So this is from the project appraisal document from the World Bank, because they are undertaking this project. The activity has only just started now. We see that poor sanitation is affecting public health. This is a study done by the Emory University, which shows that whether it's the North City Corporation or the South City Corporation, the impact on public health it doesn't differentiate between the rich and the poor. You have even in the slum areas or even in the non-slum areas, you have this paper basically describes that you are subjected to the same risk. It doesn't matter if you're if you're residing in Gulshan Bonani or you're living in a slum, you have almost equal public health concern. Now that was the story of a big city. Now what about the small other cities in Bangladesh? Because we have almost 329 Purosabhas, which call it municipalities. Do we have any sort of sanitation system over there? We actually have a few what is called fecal sludge treatment plants at the local, the small cities. They have only 36 operational. 7 we started, but we were not able to make it functional. But almost 55 FSTPs are under construction. Hopefully, will be ended by 2030. But that is only 100 of the 329 municipalities, 1/3 of it. And these are the Bangladesh government is actually now spending quite significant amount of money to develop all these FSM systems. And we call these that's 10 towns, 25 towns project. These are small municipalities all clubbed together. And we have the source of funds are from different development partners. Almost 1.5 billion money is now being channelized through the Department of Public Health Engineering, and they are doing waste management along with fecal sludge management. But the challenges at the local level are also very severe in terms of because these local government institutions are not properly capacitated to run the system, or even they're not much aware of. They're struggling to stop illegal connections. They're not supposed to connect their toilets or septic tanks to the drains, but they are not being able to regulate that. They need a lot of training on operation maintenance, business model to run this system, sustainability, and struggling with design and containment systems, engaging with local entrepreneurs, incentivizing them, and providing service to all. Even if you're doing co-composting, they're not being able to market it the co-composting products. And overall, there is a general lack of awareness and demand creation. But the Bangladesh government has oriented its policies now from post 2017, actually, that we now realize that sewage treatment is not going to serve the entire country. Actually, that was quite clear post 2015, but we kind of didn't have the the policy direction to take any steps. Post 2017, the government has published a few policy, we call it the Institutional Regulatory Framework for FSM, which first recognizes FSM as a valid mean to counteract these sanitation challenges that we face and over the country. And we reoriented our policies and activities so that a large amount of effort is now going to be devoted to establishing these small-scale decentralized or fecal sludge treatment facilities in small cities. And these are the institutions that are involved, starting the Ministry of Local Government Rural Development Cooperatives is the lead agency, lead ministry, of course, for this, which looks at wash and other and related waste management things. Local government institutions, we have financing institutions supporting us, and we call it the CY's ecosystem. It is currently well established, and everybody has a role to play here. Some provide technical support, some provide financial support, some provide capacity building support. The civil society partners, etc., they are engaged in generating awareness. So everybody is working together to drive this revolution, or I would say this effort in sanitation. We have some specific recommendations aligned with the SDG 6 Global Acceleration Framework. We need to work in five areas, that is governance, financing, data information, capacity development, and innovation. And these are kind of the activities that we envisage to do. In innovation, we need innovative technologies, innovative operational models. We actually have technologies, but we need the innovative operational models, how to make them sustainable. Governance has to be top notch because it's the local government leaders, the mayors and municipal leaders, they need to have the necessary political will and accountable to this SDG 6, unless it's not going to happen. The financing has to be there. Fortunately, we have some financing now available, but it's now on us to whether we can strategically spend this money to develop these sanitation systems. Data and information will be absolutely valuable because if we don't have proper data, you don't know where to invest. So the learnings from the FSM in small towns are thus that FSM infrastructure can become non-functional if sustainability issues are not addressed during planning. If we just go on to develop the infrastructure only, that is not going to help. So, and there has to be some service and business models, especially in the small towns. And these models need to be context specific. We have to adopt the CY's framework. The LGI has to have the leadership and willingness to tackle these sanitation challenges. And this is it. So this the final words is that we from MDG to SDG is actually a paradigm shift in water and sanitation. There are many targets that has been shifted from the MDG to SDG, but in water supply and sanitation, the way the targets have been transferred, it's almost a paradigm shift. What we talked in MDG is all nothing compared to what the requirements of SDG was. And to achieve that in 15 years' time is a real challenge, uphill battle, as you can see. We were passing the MDG line in a very strenuous way. But now when we see that we have to achieve universal access, it's actually an uphill battle. And unprecedented efforts are required to accelerate progress to reach national targets in countries like Bangladesh, which is highlighted as a country which needs acceleration. Business as usual will not work. That means the traditional approach of sanitation, how we look at it, it's not going to work. We have to have inclusive approach. And as I just mentioned, the SDG UN Accelerator Framework, it provides key directions through which this acceleration can be achieved. So if the government can actually work on those areas, especially highlighting those 5 points that I just mentioned, and approach with 5 segmented activities that can actually help this cause. So these are the final words from me, and hopefully I've been able to give you a very short overview of the sanitation system in Bangladesh overall. And it's although to describe this properly, we need more more time, but this is kind of like in a nutshell. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Tanveer Ahmed, for a nice presentation. We have few questions. First one is from Professor Saleh Tanveer. Okay, so the first question is, are there other countries with similar income levels who have done better than Bangladesh? And if so, how do they manage different aspects of sanitation that you mentioned? Professor Tanveer Ahmed, I don't know whether you're muted or not.
Oh, sorry, I was speaking. Sorry.
Okay,
Anyway,
you're muted.
yeah,
Okay,
I see the questions,
yeah,
so I'll answer them one by one.
okay.
Yes, actually, there are with similar income levels. We have Nepal. They have done slightly better than Bangladesh. They are almost at the point where we need acceleration needed to almost in a balanced area. But now, but they have less population, so they are doing well. India actually has done remarkably well in combating the problem of open defecation, and Prime Minister Modi's Swachh Bharat mission was like a game changer for them. But now they are facing the problem of fecal sludge management. That means closing the loop of the sanitation service chain. So they've been able to construct the toilets, have dramatically decreased open defecation. That was a huge achievement, but like they are now not there yet, of course. But all the countries in the global south, they are all struggling with this, and we see maybe there are some countries, I don't probably know the names, escape me now. Probably if you see the glass report 2021 2022, that has the information on number of which countries are in which stage regarding how they are actually doing. Is there a WASH portal in Bangladesh where most up-to-date sectoral data is available? Okay. There is no WASH portal in the country, but we have like as you mentioned, where you get all information together. But there is something which is developed by the DPHE. We call it the sanitation dashboard. They have information of the municipalities. That means the small cities all clubbed together. Like how much coverage do they have in safely managed sanitation? What is their waste management situation? It's only available for the municipalities, not the large cities. We need to have something for the large cities altogether. And Bangladesh government is now going for developing what is called the water supply and sanitation regulatory mechanism in Bangladesh. Under this mechanism, there will be an avenue created to get all of this data together, or the performance data together. So there will be performance data as well as national level representative data. But I would say if you consult the Bangladesh Bureau of Statistics yearbook, last yearbook, you'll get the most up-to-date information on sanitation in different cities as well as water supply and that. But well, we are in the process of developing a portal. Can you use modern services to quantify the main sources so that limited resources can be sorry, this question, I'm not sure what you are asking here. devices to
Modern
quantify the main
detection device that will quantify
detection.
You could have detection device that actually pinpoint sources of different sources of
Well, at the city level, you can look for that. Maybe there are published reports of where the pollution is coming from in particular studies and etc. There is no nationally designated, I would say, outfall location identified where you have direct monitoring of anything. Monitoring is done ad hoc. We have monitoring systems established by the Department of Environment and Bangladesh Water Development Board, but they are like in different rivers, just to look at the water quality over a year or something like that. But where we see the outfalls, let's say for a particular industry, that's the more very granular level data. I'm talking about like, national estimations of, safely managed sanitation and other things actually. What is the current investment of BD government on the area of sanitation? That's a good question. I would like to ask you to consult what is called the National Wash Accounts book, which is published by the WaterAid and the government of Bangladesh. It basically is not probably the total investment yeah, it's partly, of course, that information is there, but it also has more. How much we are spending on sanitation? What is the expenditure framework? That means that for sanitation, it's not only the government that is investing, we are also investing. There is some out-of-pocket expenses, like from us, both for water supply, sanitation, and hygiene. And mostly in hygiene actually. There is a per capita expenditure, something like that. That all goes into these operation maintenance, etc. The tariff that we put in, the monthly water bill or the sewage bill that we pay to the Dhaka Wasa, or that also goes into this pot of money where expenses are carried out. But the government is spending. We have an account of how much the government is spending each year, although it is not really designated. We have to calculate that every year. It's not a place where you go in and take that data directly. Every year we have to calculate the wash budget and expenditure every year. Dr. Alok is here. He can tell you more about that if it's time. What is the role of DOE and DPHE on this? DOE is a regulatory agency. DOE does not invest in sanitation. They are only, if you are doing something wrong, they will come and penalize or fine you. That's the role of the regulator. They can give you standards that this is the standard that you have to maintain and things like that. What is the standard of water quality? What is the standard of drinking water quality and sewage quality that you have to achieve? So that's the role of the regulator. DPHE is actually a technical agency, not a service level agency. Their job is to get the money from the government and design sanitation and water supply projects for the areas apart from the large towns. So they have a role to play, a big role to play in sanitation projects and investments. How the sanitation investment are going to happen in the country in future, that is defined by DPHE for the municipalities. For the large cities, you have WASAs. So both the investor and also the quality control aspect of it is they also do operation maintenance and all necessary things. DPHE does not do operation and maintenance. They hand it over to the municipalities after construction. So the municipal leaders are then accountable for that. But WASA does all construction, operation, maintenance, and they are accountable for everything. What are the consequences of failing to meet the goal of DOE and DPHE doesn't have any goals, but the DOE standards are needs to be complied, of course. So there is a requirement for complying with DOE standards for wastewater treatment and all wastewater treatment. If it's not, they will not renew the environmental clearance certificate. Then you will not be able to operate in a legal way. So that's, I guess, their role. Any other questions? Okay, no, I guess I'm done almost. Masud bhai.
Thank you, Tanvir. I think if you have more questions, we can come back at a later once all the presentations are done, and then I'll go from there. Our third presenter is Dr. Alok Kumar Majumdar, and he's the Director of Programs and Operations at Red Orange, and he will present the 5-for-1 integrated approach, an initiative in Dhaka that reduces plastic waste, restores water flow, and builds community ownership by engaging local government, communities, waste speakers, recyclers, and experts. Dr. Alok, floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So, little bit corrections. I'm not doctor. I'm Alok Majumdar. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Masud Karim, for introducing me. I'm Alok Kumar Majumdar, working in this sector for more than 4 decades in international organizations and rural agencies, especially water supply, wash, environment, and climate. So I'm also the member of National Policy Review Committee in Bangladesh in the wash sector. So in this sense, I'm contributing in the wash sector for quite a long time and also learning from the others. Before going to this presentation, let me allow 1 minute to present my organization Red Orange. Before that, I can say that with me, 2 of my colleagues, Jannatul Fed Munia, Director of Strategy, and also Samuel Islam, Deputy Director of Strategy is with me. They can also jump in if I miss anything in the presentations. Red Orange is a Dutch Bangladesh private organization, been working in Bangladesh since 2012. And we have major 3 areas. Is the Red Orange communications. We are providing services of the learning, sharing, learning platforms, and also advocacy campaign, and also branding visibility through this Red Orange communication. We have Red Orange ICT, where we support the e-learnings platform, digital training materials, audio visuals, TVCs, etc. And then consultancy, Red Orange consultants. We are providing this area. We are providing project design, project implementation, supporting of the project to the different agencies. So today's presentation basically under this Red Orange consultancy will be focusing on, and these are the basically our few partners, those who are working with. Today, I'll be focusing on, as you mentioned, the Red Orange 5-for-1 integrated approach to tackle surface water pollution, reduce plastic pollution disposals into the surface water. My 2 previous speakers already mentioned about this contaminations and also surface water uses. You know, in Bangladesh, almost 80% drinking water, 80% groundwater used for the drinking purpose, and 20% is only surface water used for drinking purpose. But in the Water Act in 2013, it's clearly mentioned that in case of water use, drinking water, we should first give priority to the surface water, then rainwater, then the groundwater, because groundwater is very scarce. But surface water is so polluted, that's why it's difficult for anyone to use surface water for the drinking purpose. Even some canals are so highly contaminated, the aquatic animal cannot live there. So therefore, we need to do something to tackle the reduction or surface water pollutions. Our 5-for integrated approach, this is working in basically in the Kollanpur Canal area, DMCC ward number 9, 30, and 33, near the pump station. And project was very short, only 6-month project, pilot project. Want to see some things whether it's what or not. So I'll be sharing that result at the later part. And the funding was from the World Bank and SASE, which is South Asian environmental project, and also UNOPS, and Red Orange with technical support from the CIRS of United International University. We implemented this project in this Kallanpur area. Major causes of surface water. Case all you know about this, the causes of pollution on the surface water. But our project basically, I'm not going to details on that because all you know on the causes. Our project is trying to reduce the water pollution through reducing plastic waste into the water bodies, as well as also changing the people's behavior on not to connect this fecal slash into the canal. So these two parts we really address through our projects. Here you can see the plastic pollutions in the surrounding rivers in Dhaka city. In Buri, this is basically a study from the Professor Mujibur Rahman and his team in 2022. You can see is that in Buriganga River, the microplastics, 734 microplastics have been found in 30, and also in the sedimentation level, it is 347. In Shitalaka River, it is a 605 microplastics, and in the sedimentation in the water and sedimentation 289. And Turag is 410, and in the sedimentation is 1.143. Means it's really the microplastics is now going into the rivers, and it's really creating a huge environmental pollution and surface water pollution. We need to address this, otherwise it creates some health hazard as well. So our focus was tackle the surface water pollution through reduced plastic waste disposal and awareness raising of the people, so that they do not dump the plastics into the canal. The problem is stated like this: the plastic waste and other waste is dumping into the canal, and canal is blocked and creating the flooding in the neighboring area, which really polluting the surface water. At the top of that, the neighboring settlement, their septic tank are connected to the canal, and which really causing and contaminations in the surface water. Let's watch a video. If you don't hear the sounds, please let me know.
Kollanpur Canal, Dhaka, generates over 600,000 kilograms of waste monthly, including above 60,000 kilograms of plastic, causing an environmental and health disaster for the people and the planet. Solving this problem is not easy. Red Orange is testing its unique model to address this problem. The philosophy of this intervention is tackling the problem close to the source is more feasible, affordable, and sustainable. We call it the Red Orange 5-for-1 integrated approach, combining 5 key factors: government, waste pickers, recyclers, technical interventions, and the community. An integral part of this initiative is a plastic barrier.
This is our floating barriers. It's locally engineered, means all the materials are locally available and made in locally. So based on the water depth, the modules are designed, some are 3 feet, some are 2 feet, some are 1 feet. And they have a gap 1 inches, and then water can flow very easily. And any issues at all here, it can passes through. Our ultimate target is to intercept plastics into the canal, which ultimately flows to the river, and then it's go to the sea. So we are intercepting all kinds of waste, including plastic, with this barrier.
Waste pickers collect plastic from this barrier and sell them to recyclers. Other waste is being taken away and processed by the local government.
আগে প্লাস্টিক বাঙ্গারি কুড়াইতাম অনেক কষ্ট করে, অনেক দূরে হাঁটা লাগতো, অনেক পরিশ্রম হতো। আর এখন এক জায়গায় পাই, এক পরিশ্রমও কম হয়, প্লাস্টিকও বেশি পাই, ইনকামও বেশি।
Waste pickers receive training from the project about how they can earn more money thanks to this barrier and how to do it without risking their health.
আমি মনে করি যে আজকে যা শিখে গেছো, যেমন একটা মালের দাম কত, একটা মালের কোয়ালিটিটা কত, সবাই কিন্তু এই পাঠটা করতে পারবে।
Also, recyclers are happy. The plastic that went to the rivers and the sea is now coming to them.
এখানে একটা বেরিয়াল, সেই বেরিয়াল এখন প্রচুর প্লাস্টিক আসে। এখন আগের টুকাইরা কম পাইতো, এখন বেশি পায়। 5 কেজির জায়গায় 20 কেজি পায়। ওদের কাছে থেকে আমরা কিনে নিতে, ওদেরও লাভ, আমাদেরও।
The city corporation has been struggling with waterlogging and flooding because of the huge amount of plastic in the canal. Thanks to the barrier, the waste pickers, and the recyclers, the situation now can be more manageable.
আমরা ব্যারিয়ার বসিয়েছি এবং এটা আমরা দেখবো যে এটা কতটুকু আমরা সাকসেসফুল হতে পারি। আশা করি এটাতে আমরা সাকসেসফুল হব এবং যখনই আমরা সাকসেসফুল হব এটাকে আমরা পুরো ঢাকা উত্তর সিটি কর্পোরেশন আওতাধীন যত খাল আছে সব খালে আমরা এই ব্যারিয়ারটা বসাবো, বৃহৎ আকারে আমরা কাজটা করব।
If we don't stop plastic pollution at the source, it will never be solved. Therefore, community awareness and behavior change is badly needed.
এগুলা আমাদেরই দোষ, কারণ যে আমরাই এগুলা ময়লা করতেছি, আবার আমাদেরই কষ্ট হইতেছে যে আমরা এগুলো আবার পরিষ্কার করতেছি। এটা যদি আমরা ভালো মতো নির্দিষ্ট জায়গায় আগেই ফেলতাম তাহলে আমাদের এখন আর এত পরিশ্রম করা দরকার হতো না।
This is how Red Orange 5-for-1 integrated approach makes a difference by the local government, waste pickers, recyclers, technical intervention, and the community.
Thank you for watching this video. I hope you have heard the sounds. Sometimes it's difficult to get the sound. And also it helps me a lot to provide the overall summary of my presentation. As you mentioned, 5-for integrated approach. We are doing by manageable way, affordable way, and sustainable way. And we also, in case, adapting 3R approach: reduce, reuse, and recycle. There is some results in case of the technical interventions within this few months in our project area. 150 ton plastic waste has been intercepted. With the 4 barriers is installed, and that barriers are basically managed by the local people and local DNCC. I must say that we had a very good collaboration with Dhaka North City corporations. As you know, the plastic, the total waste, only 9 to 10% is the plastic. Means once we say 150 tons, it means more than 10 times is other plastics. And this plastic waste is being taken away by the DNCC and dumping into the nearby landfill station. Through our interventions, we have seen that the flight is reduced from the 15 to 20 episode per year to 9 to 12 episode per year. So flooding has been reduced, and water flow velocity has been increased. It is by 0.8 feet per second velocity has been increased. The water pumping station clogging has reduced 2.6 times per month. So these are the technical results we got from our intervention. You have seen this plastic barrier. This is basically intercepting all kind of waste floating debris, including the plastic. The plastics is being taken away by the plastic pickers, and they are giving it to the sorting center owner, and they are selling it to the recyclers. and this way they're selling it, the recyclers make it plates and giving to the factory for reproducing the plastic bottles for the company. So this way, our effort is going contributing to the circular economy. And in the behavioral change, we have seen that 30% dumping has been reduced and also it is a statement of the people, but we have also some kind of drone observation, and they say that 12% has been reduced in the observation. The waste segregation practice, it's really improved. 80% means the segregators are now more capable to segregate the plastic and getting more price. Awareness about the plastic harmfulness has been increased 48%. It was 33% in baseline, and now it is 81%. So there's some positive results in the behavioral change we have found. This is a two scenario. Earlier, before installing this barrier, the scenario was like this previous one. Then we enter into the community and try to install this barrier. But our learning is, if the community, the service providers, and the technical person can work together, it does work very nice and in a sustainable way. Initially, our thinking was a different planning, but when we into the community people says, no, you cannot do like this, it will not work. Then the sanitation or waste pickers from the DNCC, they also suggested that we should have some kind of space for collecting waste from this barrier. So this way, we came with a very good plan, and finally this situation improved like this. Now it's people can move there, they can have cup of tea and sit here. You see some vendors is selling his products over there. So it's really a good combination of community people and the NCC and service and as a Red Orange, we are expert. In socio-economic aspect, some waste worker income has increased. The efficiency of 7 sorting centers has increased. They can now collect more plastics from the and can sort out more plastic. We have provided training and safety gears like vest, the gloves, gumboot, rack. So this really improve the dignity of the waste worker. They said that once they wear this vest with this logo from the DNCC and Red Orange and other partners, people now give more importance, more recognition to them. This really helped a lot for them to work in this plastic waste collection. These are some pictures of training we provided to the plastic collectors, pickers. We also provided some toilet for the female workers so that they can have a very good working environment there. We did a lot of campaign over there. At least 2 million people reached in the social media. We have a direct campaign, 25,000 people directly reached in the campaign. And also we had a community cleaning drives. These drives basically came from a school. We had a school program, and we saw that at one student saying that their parents is throwing plastics into the canal, and then the school authority came up with a plan to have a canal clean drive, and we contacted the DNCC. So it's a joint effort from the DNCC and the schools, and finally they come up with this campaign plan. We also have an religious program that is a khutbah. It really works very well when the Muslims they came to the khutbah prayer. The Imam explain the necessity of cleanliness and also not dumping the waste into the canal. This really works very well in our working area. The lots of campaign works we did that also helped a lot to change the behavior of the community people. But one thing also we learned that in case of the fecal contaminations into the canal, we worked only the behavioral aspect, not in the technical aspect. But our learning is that the only behavioral aspect is not sufficient to tackle the fecal slash contamination into the surface water. We need in technical intervention as well. What Dr. Tanvir already mentioned in his presentation, that how we need this addressing this fecal slash management. In future, we are planning to hand over this program to the DNCC. They will take it over. And also, we've been discussing with the different donors and also in the Dutch donors as well to come up with a bigger project in the Kollanpur area so that we can really address the overall problems in Canal because Kollanpur Canal is the really one of the major area by which all the drain storm waters passing and flowing into the Buriganga River. So we need to have a very strong and viable canal into the Kollanpur area. The pilot project that can be scalable, we can scale it to the different areas. And as I mentioned, DNCC already is willing to expand in their canals, 29 canals. If it is, then they can tackle 4,050 metric ton plastic they can intercept each month and can send into the circular economy. Despite our few achievement, we had some challenges as well. The short duration of project is put us a lot of challenges, and also the sorting centers are doing their business in the illegal lands. So anytime they can be evicted, and frequent mobility of waste worker, that's really posing a challenge to us. So, but in a nutshell, I can say within this 6 months pilot project gives us a very good result that really can contribute to the reductions of surface water pollution by reducing dumping plastic into the canal, as well as not connecting this septic tank into the canals. This way we can improve the surface water quality, and finally we can use this surface water for our drinking purpose and others household purpose. Thank you very much. If I miss anything, Samuel and Jannat, would you like to add something?
No, all of that, I think like you covered all of this, but if there are any questions, I would be happy to answer. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, over to Basud Bhai.
Yeah, thank you, Lukda. It's a very nice and real. These are the real projects, right? So, uh, I have been, working as an environment specialist. Our focus is mostly, in at the source level. So we try to reduce the contamination from the source. But this is at the end point. It's very nice. There are a few questions. I think the first one is coming from Dr. Hussein Azam. What is the current percentage of recovery of the floating plastic capture system compared to the total plastic openly disposed in the environment, as for example, Dhaka City? You can see the questions, all questions are there. So you can probably go ahead instead of me talking.
Okay. In Bangladesh, only 33% of the plastics really we can capture, and rest of these are going to the rivers and canals and seas. And in this is the overall pictures. And as already we are working only one canals, we have been trying to collect all the plastics flowing through these canals. But overall is only 33% in Bangladesh.
Okay, so the next one is from Professor Saleh Tanvir. You see the question, right? I mean, on the screen?
I have to close down my...
No, yours is already closed, so you can't see anyway. Okay, all right. Let me read it too. Will it be helpful if the government forces business institutions that use plastic to pay nominal fees to those who collect plastic and bring it to them? Will it not enable strong recycling incentive?
Janet, would you like to answer this question?
Yeah. Thank you so much for the question. So of course, like if the government forces business institution, they are gonna be that's gonna be really helpful for us. But what we have seen that our project was just a pilot project, and the aspect we could see how it bore results were limited. So we have to actually see. I mean, we are sure that it would be helpful, but to what extent that we would have to see in a when we continue this project for a longer time and with government, and we tried to test some revenue model, and we just started, we explored, but we are still exploring how the revenue model works. So when we do that, we will be able to tell it for sure like how it affects. Thank you.
The second question from Professor Saletanbir is, are there enough recycling facilities in Bangladesh or in major cities?
Recycling factories is not still enough, but this business is growing day by day, but still is not enough. Especially in the Dhaka city, the recycling factories is in mainly in the Hazaribagh. You know, the Hazaribagh is near to Dhaka city, in the east and south. And also in the some part of the Dhaka city, there are some recyclers. They collect this plastic, but still it's not enough. We had a discussion with the Bangladesh Plastic Manufacturer Goods Exporter Association. They are also negotiating with the government so that they can get kind of support to improve this factories and to system so that the plastic waste can be recycled and reused.
If I can add with all of that. So as I mentioned, like when we tried to work, we faced one challenge, that is like the amount of plastic we were intercepting. We tried to take it to different recyclers, and they said that for us to be this interesting, we would need a larger quantity. So what we realized that we have to think about like smaller recycling facilities or system, because all the recycling facilities wants like a really very big amount of plastics to in order to recycle. So this is one challenge that we faced, but if we can replicate this whole 5-for-1 integrated approach in whole Dhaka or even like whole Bangladesh, then maybe it would be interesting for the recyclers.
Yeah.
I also saw like there was a question from our honorable host. If does the NCC plan to replicate this initiative in other canals? So while we were working with the NCC, they have supported us from the beginning, and they have taken over our barriers, the technical aspect of the project, and they are maintaining it. We are in regular conversations with them. Though our project has ended, but they are still using those. And while we were talking to them, they said that you would be interested to replicate this in all over Dhaka's canals, in 29 canals under DNCC. And after that, we also like talked to DSCC, South City Corporation. They also showed their interest. And as like the political situation is a bit unrestful right now, when it sorts out, we plan to have a rigorous conversation with DSCC. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Alokda and Jannat, for your presentation. Okay. All right. So the last one is mine. A short presentation. I will do a sectoral overview of WASH. Okay. Can you see the slides?
No, we're seeing some other things. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. There's a very short, sectoral overview. The number of topics I'm going to cover is sectoral statistics of WASH in Bangladesh. Some of the stats are not really up to date, but whatever I received information from online and other project documents. So I'll present especially on major accomplishments and persistent gaps, and then WASH financing and spending in a household and the country level, then country investment and climate resilience in WASH and sectoral recommendations, few of them. This is on drinking water access. It's based on 2019 statistics. 98.5% population has access to improved water. Then 43% of the population have safely managed drinking water access. Then 40% sources have E. coli, and 49% drinking wells has arsenic exceeding WHO drinking water standards. And out of 329 municipalities, 151 have basic piped water systems, that is 45.9%. The takeaway in this subsector is near universal access to improved water sources, but major challenge is sustainably managed drinking water remains a major challenge. The contaminants are arsenic, salinity, pathogens, and industrial pollutants. In sanitation, we have remarkable improvement on the open defecation. This is 2015 stats, less than 1%, and 80% of the population has improved sanitation, and 57% basic and safely managed sanitation. These are 2022 statistics. I think this also are consistent with Professor Tanvir Ahmed's presentation. Then 40% latrines are shared or rudimentary, and 80% fecal sludge ends up in rivers around Dhaka. Takeaway from this subsector is remarkable progress in reducing open defecation. The major challenge are unsafe toilets, lack of toilets in schools, and unsafe working conditions for sanitation workers. Solution is fecal sludge management, gender-sensitive facilities, climate resilience, and community engagement. In hygiene and gender inequality, 75% of the population have basic hygiene services. This statistics is from 2019. 28% households have soap plus water for hand washing. And women and girls spend 10 times more time collecting water. 93% of the population lack menstrual hygiene facilities, and 28% women lack access to private toilets. And then takeaway from this subsector is gender-sensitive hygiene are lagging far behind. A major challenge is women and girls face risk to safety, health, education, and dignity due to inadequate hygiene facilities. And solution for this subsector could be gender-inclusive design, affordable menstrual hygiene, sanitation as gendered right, WASH financing for the entire country. Bangladesh taka 598 billion in 2020, and that's 4.3% of the GDP. Capital investment is about 172 billion Bangladesh taka. This is about 28.8% of the WASH budget. Household spending, 11,500 per year per household. That's about 4.3% of the income of per household. And among this 11,500 people each household used around 2,000 taka for sanitation, 8,000 for hygiene, and for water is 1,500 taka. There are, I think Tanvir also presented a number of projects, investment projects. These are some of them here also. Dhaka Water Supply project supposed to start in 2023. New Development Bank financing 320 million. Khulna Water Supply Project phase 1 started in 2011 and it's ended. That's about 259 million. Phase 2 started in 2024, 154 million. This project is financed by Asian Development Bank. Dhaka Water Supply Network Improvement Project started in 2016 with the financing of ADB, 275 million. And Chattogram Water Supply Improvement and Sanitation Project started in 2010 and ended in 2023, financed by World Bank. Total investment was 203 million. And then Municipal Water Supply and Sanitation Project started in 2019, co-financed by World Bank and Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. There are other projects. These are the major projects in water sector in the country. And climate resilience. The first thing you have to do is the risk assessment and planning, which is integrating climate risk analysis into WASH programs. Robust infrastructure, designing water and sanitation facilities that can withstand floods, droughts, and cyclones. Then water security is to diversify water sources using groundwater recharge and rainwater harvesting. An ecosystem-based approach could protect wetlands and watersheds to sustain water supplies. Energy efficiency and low carbon solutions is to promote solar pumps and eco-friendly treatment systems. And then inclusive services, which will ensure women, children, and vulnerable groups have continued access during climate shocks. And the climate risk are arsenic, salinity, and heat stress in the country. And I would like to just summarize few sectoral recommendations. The number one is expand water quality monitoring, that is for E. coli and especially for E. coli and arsenic. Scale climate resilient wash infrastructure, then promote hygiene education and provide infrastructures for hygiene. Ensure gender responsive wash programs, increase targeted investments and subsidies, reduce waste in investment projects, that is delays, costly trips, cars, etc. This is common in all major infrastructure projects in the country. And I think that's the presentation. I mean, I have included my email address. If anyone is interested to contact, please go ahead. Now, if you have questions for me, you can go ahead. First question is, how do you define improve sanitation and improve water? Tanvir, I think this is an academic question. So, Tanvir, if you're there, please go ahead. There are
I think he left.
definitions. Yeah.
Actually,
Tanvir left?
officially, the improved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Actually, the term improved sanitation and improved water is first coined by the Joint Monitoring Program. If you look at the definition, I don't have the official definition with me right now, but you can search in the internet. There are certain technologies and certain infrastructure that can be considered improved or unimproved. The definition is not only in improved, there is also definition in unimproved. What is a basic service and what is actually a safely managed service? So these definitions are pretty much delineated in the sanitation and water supply. We call it the sanitation and water supply ladder. So when we say improved sanitation and improved water supply, we actually mean those infrastructures, particular infrastructures. For example, an improved sanitation is, let's say, which is not shared, which has properties of it's a pit contained and other properties. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that. So you can look through the definition and try to find that.
I think improved sanitation is probably you have the flush or poor flush
Yeah,
toilets.
that's also, but also others as well.
Yeah, and then ventilated improved
You also,
latrines. Yeah,
Can I add to this?
please go ahead.
In fact, as per the JMP ladders, in case of service, we have 5 ladders. One is safely managed in case of both water and sanitation. Second one is basic, and third one is limited. Then is no service. In case there's a kind of indicators. In case of water, you have to have water with is free from all contamination, bacteriological contamination, industrial contamination. It has to be at the user's level, and then it must be safe when I am drinking. So these are the 3 conditions. If met, then it is safely managed. That's why you see that even your representative said 98% people have, almost 99 people have access to water, but safely managed water is only around 54% because of this contamination, because water is contaminated. In case of sanitation, already Dr. Tanvir mentioned, it should not be shared. If it's shared, it will automatically go down from the safely managed. It will go to either basic or limited. And also it has to be improved technology. There is a certain list of improved technology. So if it is that technology, then we can use this, go to this ladder. So this way, as per the JMP, there's a several ladders of our services: safely managed, basic, limited, no services.
So improved water sources, that means you have the water available, but it doesn't ensure you they are safe, okay, for drinking purpose. And then safely managed drinking water is you have the water, but it's also safe for drinking
Must
purpose.
be
There is
safe.
no contamination. Yeah. So I think that's the major difference between improved water sources and safely managed water sources.
Yes.
Okay. You also mentioned we have around 3 to 4% of GDP to wash. It sounded a big number with respect to improvement that we saw in Bangladesh. Yeah. So as I mentioned, the improved water and improved sanitation, you have the improvement, but whether they are safely managed water or safely managed sanitation, that's the question, right? So that is the reason why, although there are big numbers for improved services, but they are not safe, right? So that's probably the major difference. Then what do you perceive to be low-hanging fruits as far as achievable targets? And we want to reply this one?
He's muted.
Tanvir, you're muted. Tanvir Ahmed.
is this regards sanitation?
Yeah,
And
that's the main question.
I'm not sure if this question is regarding.
Yeah, no. I was remarking on Dr. Masood Karim's presentation. So he gave an overview. So that includes drinking water. So I was mainly thinking about drinking water as well as more generally. Yeah, it could include sanitation too. Yeah.
What is this? I mean, if you could give a little bit more specific.
Yeah, basically, you mentioned a lot of things, challenges, and so there are some things that have not been achieved, but that could be achieved within a shorter time. So what I mean by low-hanging fruits is basically things that could be achieved with a little bit of effort in the immediate future. Because there is no end to problems. So the question is, if you have limited resources and you want results quickly, what are the areas to target? That's my question.
I think in all the sectors, poor countries and developing countries like Bangladesh, we have always challenges on the budget's money the most effective way to manage the environmental issues are engaging the community involvement and then creating awareness, especially say the plastic is one of the major problem in the country. So if we can aware our population that minimizing the disposal of plastics from at the source level. If we have, the segregation system for, suppose in Western world, we have organic waste, inorganic waste, and then recycle waste also, right? So if we can manage that, and then that can be collected through the municipal services, that would be the best way to do it. And then the second one would be to engage the community in the system, because if the community is engaged, there are tremendous pressure will be reduced to the government's burden, because government cannot alone resolve all the issues. So community has to be part of all the solution. So I think that could be my response. All of the or Tanvir, if you want to add something.
You are right, because in Bangladesh, in case of the water supply, if you talk about the hand tubes, 10% of the hand tubes is only the public hand tube by the government, and 90% of the hand tubes is from the private. So unless you involve the community and private sectors, it's difficult to reach the target. It's absolutely, you are right. And also for sanitation, at least household sanitation is 100% borne by the community people or individual family members. So therefore, it's very crucial that community involvement is there. What Salivai was saying, that in case of low-hanging fruits, one of the advocacy we did with the JMP definition itself a faulty definition, because once you say the safely managed sanitation, it will not be shared. Country like Bangladesh, Nepal, and other third world countries, they cannot afford it, because if the latrine is improved and clean, and so why not it should be considered as safe water? Because in slum area, it's a very difficult to get a separate toilet for each family. So therefore, we have been trying to convince the policymakers, especially in the JMP level, UNICEF and WHO, to reconsider the definition, so that the safely managed sanitation in these countries will be jumped immediately if only they change that, if they allow the share between at least 2 families or 3 families, then safely managed sanitation will be improved. But then they are not allowing this one. So this way, JMP, as per the JMP definition, it's not possible to achieve SDG sanitation target.
Good point.
Okay, I think that's it. If we do not have any other question or
So,
any.
Masud bhai, I was actually disconnected
Oh,
for some time actually. So, yeah, if
you
you
want
have any
to
questions
add something?
on that question number 12 that I see over here, low-hanging fruit, something like that. Yeah. I don't think there is a low-hanging fruit in sanitation like all other problems. Many things you can do by behavioral change. Well, the thing in sanitation, what I feel is that we are so much lacking in basic investment, like community awareness and all those things, community mobilization. It works when you already have a system running, let's say, and mostly works in rural sanitation, and where you have community managed sanitation, things like that. But in municipality or in a big city where you see the coverage of sanitation is increasingly poor in large cities or in small towns. And why is that? That is because we depend on the municipality or the specific agencies like Dhaka Wasa or city corporations to manage our sanitation services. We do our part by constructing our own latrine or septic tanks, maybe, but there is lack of services or the coverage of services that has not been established in cities, which is the responsibility of the local government institutions. Then how are we going to avail ourselves of any or whatever service that is available? So that basic service provision has to be established first. Then we can ask ourselves whether or not we are being regulated enough to avail those services, or we are doing what we should be doing from the household perspective. Because sanitation is something that it depends on not only infrastructure, the service aspect is very important. And if that service is not available in a municipality or a city corporation, then the concept of community awareness mobilization, that doesn't really matter. It's something. Uh, if you serve yourself, let's say by your individual tube oil or your individual latrine, then that's an aspect. Then those things are important. But if you are in a serviced area, then you depend on the big infrastructure investments first, right? And that's where. And the other aspect is that the Bangladesh government is now investing on sanitation and waste management. That is true, but the investment has to be very, very strategically done. We know that we have limited amount of resources. So whatever resources we have, that has to be spent on areas where we were lacking before. For example, ensuring equity, ensuring equal services for the rich and poor. And these things were not actually highlighted in investments. Even the investments that Masud Bhai you showed for the water supply projects, big projects, 200 million, 350 million. If you track how many millions are invested here for ensuring connections to the slum or the poor, you don't find enough. So there is a lack of equity when you're actually designing a project. So these things have to be corrected first. And the more big budget you go, you'll see the more you're going away from the concept of equity. And that is unfortunately the nature of projects, not only here, and the basic aspect of how we design projects in many, many cities all around the world. And that mindset has to be changed. You have to put something to ensure equity and universal coverage, universal service, etc. So that is my uh, comment here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tanvir. I think we are almost end. So I'd like to request Professor Saleh Tanvir to close the sessions formally. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. There was a very stimulating discussion on many topics. And I just wanted to close just to let you know a little bit more about Ben. Ben was founded in 1998 primarily as an organization of expatriate Bangladeshis and who are interested in environmental issues in Bangladesh. And Ben works closely with Bangladesh partner, BAPA, and which was established in 2000. And the work combines both activism as well as environmental expertise. And it seeks to influence the Bangladesh government towards sounder policies. So to that effect, Ben believes that we have to have a repository of good information for everyone, not only the experts, but also activists. And this Ben seminar series, or webinars, I should say, they are all archived in the Ben website. You can check them out. And I would also like to invite everyone in this audience to be, become members of BEN. There are no fees. This is a activist organization with experts and activists alike. So I like to thank the organizers for this conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanvir Bhai. So that's the formal end of our webinar, and I'd like to especially thank to all the presenters and the participants who joined. Hope to see you in the next one. Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.